Welcome, everybody. It's October 12th, 2015, and this is a regular meeting of the Administrative Committee for the City of Moscow. To my right is Jim Boland. To my left is John Weber, both councilmen. And to John's left is Gary Reedner, our City Supervisor, and I'm Dan Carscallon. First up is the approval of minutes from our August 24th meeting. Do you guys see anything needs changed?
No. I think it's all good.
All right, we'll consider them approved. Next up is the renewal agreement for E911 services and complete dispatch services with Whitcomb, and Gary Reedner is presenting.
Thank you, sir. As our only regular action item today, our current agreement with Whitcomb was a 6-year agreement entered into in 2010, and it will expire December 31st of this year. We began services with Whitcomb in 2004 after we had City of Moscow had its own emergency dispatch system. We purchased the equipment. We had a dispatch services division of the communications division of the police department. It became clear that we were unable to keep up with the costs of new dispatch equipment. We were able to keep up with the personnel management and costs. However, we went to district court to try and get judicial confirmation of new E911 equipment. At that time, the district court indicated that there is not a federal mandate or state mandate that you must have E911. So without that, we would have had to gone out to a vote for 911 services. As you know, the City of Moscow, typically emergency communication areas are broken up by counties. So each county is the emergency dispatch or E911 area that's allowed to get the $1 per month surtax on phone charges for emergency communications. The City of Moscow and the City of Lewiston are the only two jurisdictions that are non-county in the state of Idaho where we levy our own 911 tax, and that check comes through the sheriff to the City of Moscow. So prior to 2004, when we knew our system was becoming less efficient and we were going to have to upgrade, we explored joint dispatch proposals with Latah County. We were unable to come to any sort of understanding or agreement at that time. A lot of the reason was because the county had a different type of records management software than the City of Moscow and all of our surrounding jurisdictions. We use Spillman. The sheriff uses Computer Arts. Just within the past year, the county pursued a grant to try and get Spillman records. They're fairly expensive, especially if you utilize all the modules. They were unsuccessful in getting that grant, so they are not even on the same record system that we are on this time. In the past, we had 2 3-year agreements, one initial 3-year, then renewed for 3 years. The last agreement was for 6 years. The proposal that you see in front of you is a 5-year agreement. In the past, the good thing, at least from our perspective, is when Whitcomb invited us to participate with them, they had all the equipment and the setup, largely with funding through the state of Washington. So it was a great deal for us to be able to take advantage of a lot of the services that Whitcomb had and continues to have. At the time when Whitcomb was initially set up, if we wanted to come into the Whitcomb system, we had a couple of choices. One was we could participate as a service recipient without a vote on the board, so we became ex officio members of the Whitcomb board at that time. Whitcomb, their executive board makes decisions, and the city provides input but doesn't have a vote on the ultimate issues. This time, what Whitcomb is proposing is that they would accept us as a voting member of the board. We do not have to become a partner to the interlocal agreement or an intergovernmental agreement. So our status doesn't change, except we now get a vote on the board, which is a positive. I'm the designated representative for the City of Moscow to that board, and David Duke typically sits in for me. If he can't, then Chief Nickerson does. The services that Whitcomb has provided, you see a memo in the packet from Chief Duke laying out some of the information. Patty Kelly, the Executive Director of Whitcomb, is here to answer any questions. Staff's recommendation, I'm joined by Police Chief David Duke and Fire Chief Brian Nickerson in recommending to the council that we renew the Whitcomb agreement for an additional 5 years. At the end of that 5-year period, council is free to do whatever it wants. There has been some discussion that Perhaps Latah County might want to talk about a joint dispatch center in the future. That is a long-term situation, especially with getting new record software, and we anticipate that it will take a significant amount of time, if ever, for that to come to fruition. So this buys us stability, and certainly we have our police chief, and I thought the fire chief was upstairs, but certainly Chief Duke can answer any questions you have as to the service provided. And with that, I think Patty has a few things to say. No?
You have anything to add?
Well, besides the memo that the Chief Duke has provided, there's a few things that I think probably don't get mentioned, and that is that, you know, Moscow, the city of Moscow has been on the Spillman system for, I believe, over 26 years. When they bought that system, it was pretty much, it was actually inexpensive in terms of software and hardware. They probably, to get what they have today, you'd be running, I bet, close to $600,000, $700,000 to purchase that. We spent a considerable amount of money. We spent about $25,000 merging their old records into our system, so that they could have their old data and wouldn't lose, you know, any of their value from that system. I think that what Whitcomb offers is not only the latest technology in things that we use every day, like mobile data computers and all the computer imaging in the cars and the things that you just don't get to see on it every day. But the 911 circuits, I think, are really important to understand, that we allow Moscow to basically ride on our circuits, and that probably would run about $5,000 a month to run those circuits by yourself. And with that, we are in the process, we're upgrading to next generation 911, and the state of Washington has just put out their RFP for their new ESI net, which is going to handle the latest technology of the video imaging and such that goes to dispatch. And I think that being able to provide that to not only the city and the university is probably going to be one of the leading reasons to keep your community safe, is having those that kind of circuitry available. There's, I think, a lot of value add in that we don't charge for. The contract is what it is, and it's all inclusive, and we don't try to nickel and dime anybody. We maintain and renew and buy new all of our equipment. We have a new radio system, IP radio system we're installing in January, a brand new state-of-the-art IP-based phone system. That's going to allow us the next generation texting to 911 technology. Our building is a pretty sophisticated building with a lot of security and a lot of technology. That lease runs us about $10,000 a month, you know, plus insurance and things like that. And we probably, our budget is about $3.5 million a year. That's with, you know, things like $70,000 a year that's dedicated just for dispatcher training. So I think that the fact that Whitcomb does nothing but dispatch, and that has been proven to be why we're successful. We're not involved in any, you know, governmental politics between sheriff's offices and police departments. We don't divide our services between other members. I mean, our whole facility, we have 5,800 square feet. All we do is dispatch. And then administrative functions. We have a full GIS division. We have our network administrator is nothing less than genius in my book, and I think that we've, you know, really proven that we work cooperatively. Our goal is to make things work. This is not ever about whose responsibility something is. It's our responsibility as a team effort to make sure this continues to run. And I think that we have just spent so many years becoming, I guess, just intertwined in everything that each other does, that I couldn't see it any other way. We've had a lot of successes for the community. We've solved, I think it was just a couple of months after our very first go live when a homicide occurred in the city of Moscow, and by the time an officer got there, we were we, meaning police officers and law enforcement, were catching him in Pullman. In the old system, they could have never been caught, just, because of that. And we've had multiple successes like that. And I like to try to remind people that there's strength in numbers. One of the things that allows us to be successful is that when any area that we dispatch for has a major event, that we can divert all of our resources as a dispatch center to that event. And we kind of let everyone else be on hold, where if you had even a 2-person, even a 3-person dispatch center, when we have instances like Moscow's had, where our call volume for 911 for the area increases by 2,000% in 2 hours, it is impossible to plan for that when you have a small staff. And I think knowing that it's not going to be for any of our communities when that happens, or if that happens again, it's going to be when it happens. And we're more prepared to do that because there is strength in numbers. So I feel like we've just worked really well together. I think that we'll continue to work that way. And I haven't seen any negatives from it. I've seen only positives. Where I think we're all benefiting as a region. More and more federal money and grants becoming available only to regional centers. So we're looking forward to having those kind of opportunities, and I'm welcome to answer any questions of, anything that, that you might still have questions about.
Okay.
One of the things I forgot to mention as well, as the Wickham Board has allowed us in the first year of this contract to come in at the same price that we paid in this last fiscal year. There is a 3% inflationary factor after that, which is fairly standard in the industry and that we've done in the past. So I would note that we are still, after 12 years of disbanding our original dispatch center, we still are at a net savings over where we would have been if we continued to run our own dispatch center. So it's been a very positive relationship. There have been times when we've had to work on things, but those have been relatively few, and certainly the service is appreciated by our law enforcement and our emergency response personnel.
We levy a tax to cover the 911 service, and how much revenue does the city get to cover that per month? How much we get? $1 off every phone?
It's $1 off every landline in the city of Moscow and $1 off the wireless that is registered to someone living in the city of Moscow, wherever the bill goes. Those are sent to us by each individual carrier. Sometimes they're sent to the Latah County Sheriff, and then they split it out from there. Sometimes it comes directly to us. We pay then a percentage, and I can't remember the exact percentage, back to the state emergency 911 administrators. If you want to know the gross number, I can get it for you in just a second.
Just ballpark.
You're going to have to just let me grab the budget book.
Yeah.
John, you got anything?
No, as long as the sheriff,
Chief.
pardon me, the chief. Sorry, chief, and the fire chief are happy with what's been going on and the service that we've been getting. I'm pretty happy with it, and I like the 1 year not having the 3% added. That's kind of a nice thing. And then the quality of service appears to have been exemplary. So,
Gary, you got a number?
Yes. Our landline 911 fee, of course, people are having fewer landlines, is estimated in, for 2015, $48,300, and cell phone 911, $198,000.
So
And
almost.
And the number here is 42,000 for
A month.
per
Per month.
month.
About $514,000 a year.
So we've got about a little less than 250,000, 240,000
We're
in
almost
revenues.
getting half of it. Well, but then you're also sending some to Take-Com, so
Absolutely. So,
that's
so it's general fund still pays for a significant
about half
portion
of
of
it,
this,
probably.
which is the same situation. We had our own 911 center as well.
but it was more.
Yes.
Patty, how many board members are there?
We currently have 6 voting members and 2 ex officio non-voting members. This will make, there's 2 from the city of Pullman, 2 from Washington State University, and 2 from Whitman County. And then this will make 7 voting. And we are offering to Asotin County to have a voting position, so that will make 8 voting members of the board.
All you got to do
Because
is
you're not, all
buy
you
in.
have to do is be an interlocal.
Oh, that's the next step then.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned something about the University of Idaho. Do they have some kind of arrangement with you, or is that all through our services to them?
It's through our agreement. They, with notification when a incident occurs which may involve the university, or the university should be notified, the fire chief and police chief have worked with Whitcomb to allow certain university personnel to get a text when a 911 call is dispatched, so that they have some idea of the incident that's going on. It's the same as you'd get if you were on a police scanner.
Okay. Well, go ahead.
And then also, I think one of the, we have a very effective board. I've been doing this position since 1997, and then we regionalized in 2004. And I've been very impressed with our board over the years. Our members have changed, but we have a real strong, about half is financial administrative and half the members are operational. And then we also have a very active law subcommittee and fire and EMS subcommittee, and those are made up of our paying members, and we basically set our policies there anytime. We meet monthly or quarterly depending on the activity level, but it's very important that everyone is involved in that. And the city of Moscow, both fire and law, are very involved, and that's where we update our policies, change day-to-day operations if it affects our users. And the policy is that if we cannot come to an agreement there, it would go to the board. But we haven't had to do that because those committees work so well together. And I think between that and we have a really strong QA program, and part of our QA is that if somebody turns in any kind of quality assurance, whether it's a thank you, a kudos, or a request for information, or a complaint, we have a monthly spreadsheet that every one of those issues is put on and presented publicly to our board, where we look into every issue, whether it has a positive outcome or a negative outcome, and that's presented to the board with the explanation and what we've done to correct it if correction was needed. We try to be an open book. We don't really keep anything a secret. It's all laid out at a board level, and so I think that really helps. And again, the fact that we're independent of other law enforcement and fire, that all we do is dispatch. We can devote 100% of our time to that and to what's happening in the world of 911 and dispatching, and that is our 100% focus. So I think that really, really tends to keep us on the higher end of what we can offer.
Well, it sounds like if you guys are okay with it, we'll go ahead and move this forward to council for approval. Is this all right to be on consent agenda?
It can be, and if anybody wants to pull it off, they certainly can.
All right. Thank you, Patty.
All right. Thanks a lot for inviting me.
You bet.
You bet.
Well, that ends all our action items, and now we're down to reports. So, first off, Rebecca Couch is going to give us an analysis of impediments to fair housing. An update on that. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. So as the staff liaison to the Fair and Affordable Housing Commission, I'm here today to give you a report on the update or the status of the analysis of impediments to fair housing and Fair Housing Action Plan. So the title of the document has a quite lengthy title, so just to break it down a little bit, the first portion is the analysis of impediments to fair housing. So this describes the process that was undertaken to analyze any impediments within policies, procedures, programs in both the public and private sector that are existing in regards to fair housing. And then the second portion refers to specific action items that can be taken to address those impediments that were identified. The Department of Housing and Urban Development requires grantees of the Community Development Block Grant to certify that they will affirmatively promote fair housing by preparing an analysis of impediments to fair housing choice, implement actions to address those impediments, and then maintain records of relevant actions taken. The City of Moscow analysis of impediments fulfills the CDBG requirements and promotes compliance with the Federal Fair Housing Act. The first City of Moscow analysis of impediments was adopted in 2003 with an addendum in 2005. So this will be the first update in 10 years. And as the Council is well aware, the Fair and Affordable Housing Commission is charged with furthering fair and affordable housing practices and education of the public, housing providers, and others involved in the housing industry with respect to fair housing requirements and relevant laws and regulations. So the Commission is excited to bring forth this updated plan. So the work that's been completed thus far is the analysis of both the public and private sector, as I mentioned. And that's involved a lot of data collection through a couple different methods. The biggest method was a work that they did with the U of I Geography Department through a contract. They helped us conduct a mailed survey to assist in identifying impediments within the private sector. The Commission co-sponsored a social justice forum with the Human Rights Commission entitled Renters' Rights, and then also a fair housing training with the Intermountain Fair Housing Council and the Idaho Housing and Urban Development. And with both of those events, the commissioners were able to hear from those who attended any issues revolving around fair housing within the community and learn about perhaps training opportunities that needed to be made available. And then finally, the Commission has reviewed city codes, policies, and plans to identify any impediments there. So the plan will include an executive summary, background and plan preparation, a description of Moscow's current housing stock, and then historical housing, an analysis of the survey that was conducted, and then the meat of the document is really the analysis of any impediments discovered and the action plans that the action plan identified. There's a section on fair housing enforcement policies and programs within the state, and then a conclusion. So, the U of I Geography Department prepared a demographic profile of Moscow's population, which resulted in a sampling of 400 addresses for the mailed survey. And this survey was conducted in March of 2014. So there was 400 surveys that were mailed out, and we had 87 returned, which was a response rate of 22%, which was a pretty good response rate. And then we had 1,995 students that were emailed a link to the survey because we tried to get more renter responses, and we only had 68 surveys completed through that method, which was a very low 3% response rate. So the overall, when those are combined, was just a 6% response rate, which does not add to the validity of the survey. And then there was very little diversity among respondents in terms of race, nationality, and sexual orientation. There were no major impediments or forms of discrimination as prohibited by the Fair Housing Act that were made apparent from the results. However, one issue that stood out for the Commission was that there is a clear perception of housing discrimination among individuals who have never personally felt discriminated against. So, just
That was 21% of those that responded
correct.
said that.
Said that they think there is a housing discrimination issue in Moscow, but then they stated
But they've not
that
been
they never
discriminated.
personally were discriminated against. So that was probably the biggest conclusion that was drawn from the
Gary?
survey.
What exactly does that mean? What can we do with that information?
Not a whole lot, other than maybe adjust the survey next time to try and figure out why these people think there is an issue in Moscow.
Or if there is one. Why they think there's one, whether there is or not.
Yeah, you can only assume from that maybe they know of somebody who was, or they heard something
My
one
house-step
time.
neighbor-in-law's brother said that.
Right. So with the poor response rate and then the lack of diversity among the respondents, there's not a lot of good conclusions to draw from the data. So just keeping that in mind. So then just kind of a quick overview of some of the action items that we are developing, and it's not finalized by any means at this time, but Some of those are to research and develop programs, policies, and partnership opportunities to help maintain affordable housing when a property is sold. Research and development of programs that encourage and incentivize the provision of affordable housing within new developments. Updates to the zoning code where it negatively impacts the ability for potential buyers to obtain financing. The creation of educational materials on various fair and affordable housing opportunities. And then an update to the 2001 survey of private sector professionals. So within the previous analysis of impediments, there was a big description of a 2001 survey that was done that gave them a lot of information about the education about the Fair Housing Act among the private sector. And so it'd be nice to update that survey again to learn more about training opportunities that might be needed. And then finally, to continue to co-sponsor fair housing trainings as the commission has done. So the next steps involve the presentation of the draft plan at the November 5th Fair and Affordable Housing Commission meeting, and that will be held in this room. And then we'll have a public comment period on the draft through the end of November, and we anticipate bringing that to council for review and adoption in December. That is all that I have.
One of the questions you mentioned that talking about financing, how in the world could a city policy affect the financing on someone's house?
There is one provision within the zoning code that talks about non-conforming structures, and that if an existing structure is non-conforming for that zone, that if it was to be damaged more than 70% of its value at the time that it's damaged, then it can only be rebuilt so that it meets the zoning code. So, for example, if a duplex is located in a single-family zone, if it was to be destroyed, it could only be rebuilt as a single-family home because that would be what's allowed. So there's some financing issues with someone who's wanting to buy that duplex, obtaining proper financing for that, since it could not
in the wrong zone.
be replaced as it is. So that's just an example.
That goes across the board, though, doesn't it? I mean, whether it's for fair and affordable housing, or whether it's a $500,000 home, if it's in the wrong spot and it's more than 70% destroyed, you have to bring it back in if you're going to rebuild it. Okay.
Jim, got anything?
Seems pretty straightforward to me. We didn't learn a lot from the survey, but
Fortunately.
I know
we're
definitely
keeping our eyes open to see if there are, we're reaching out to people. If you think you're being discriminated against, here's a way to communicate that, and we'll see what we can do about it.
Yeah, and speaking to that, without that real diversity in respondents that you talked about, how do you think that could be done better to get that more diverse? I mean, you're not going to try and target people.
Right.
You just kind of get a random bunch of addresses, don't you?
Right. I'm not sure. The makeup of Moscow is not incredibly
We're not
diverse.
We're not as diverse as we think we are. We are somewhat, but
Yes.
just look around the room. So, all right. Well, I guess we'll look forward to seeing the presentation in December then.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is a report on social media, and Jan Piffner's going to present that to us. Maybe this is a way to get more respondents. Is use social media.
My social media's blowing up right here.
You know what's going on.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
This is just a brief report on the city's social media efforts. This was part of a council goal from 2014, I believe, talking about different ways we can outreach to citizens. And this is some of the work we've done to try to make that a reality. The city of Moscow engages in two types of social media at this point. We're on Facebook and Twitter, with, I'm sure, more to come in the future as we watch how those change over time. We have 3 Facebook pages. It's the City of Moscow, the Moscow Farmers Market, and the City of Moscow Police Department Campus Division. The basis for the way we've laid out the pages is we really look at the audiences we're trying to target through the different messages that we put out. The City of Moscow is a page where we think the messages posted on there would be applicable to any citizen within Moscow. The Moscow Farmers Market has a bit of a different reach. It's more of a regional type of thing, so that has a separate page. And then the City of Moscow Police Department Campus Division is designed just to speak to those on campus with messages that would be pertinent to those folks, but perhaps if you're not on campus, wouldn't be pertinent to you. We do interact all 3 pages. If something happens, for instance, in the city, PD is a great example. The city police department would post a message that is applicable citywide, but then they would share it also on the department campus division page to kind of reinforce that message and make sure that people that we think need to see it or have an opportunity to see it. The farmers market is another great example. There's a lot of posts that'll go on the farmers market page that maybe don't speak specifically to Moscow, or the volume of those posts maybe don't speak to the Moscow page, but we'll share things as they come up and make sure that citizens are aware of those as well. And then for Twitter, we have a City of Moscow account and the Moscow Farmers Market account. Same philosophy there with Twitter, just a little bit of a different medium. So
Who does the tweeting there?
the tweeting, that's when we talk about our social media team. No, Gary's not tweeting yet. We're working on it. Our social media team, it started out with just myself when we started on Facebook in 2010. The approach and the way we envisioned it is to constantly feed those pages and those Twitter accounts to make sure they're up to date, that they're engaging, that people want to look at what we've got going on, was to bring in different people throughout the city who participate in various departments and activities onto the team so that they could post things in real life time. I'm a great person to call and try to find something out, but it can be pretty time consuming. Whereas when we add, we've got arts, community development, engineering, PD, farmers market, police, streets, all of those folks can tweet or Facebook post right then. They have pictures of the activities that are going on. They know the specific details and logistics of what's going on. And so in doing that, we're populating, especially our Facebook page, 2 to 3 times a day, as opposed to once a week. And that velocity really helps us to get more followers, to help get information out. And the information's better, frankly, when it comes straight from the source. So just looking at our City of Moscow Facebook page here, this is taken this afternoon. We have 2,422 page likes. So that's 2,400 individuals that have gone to our page and said, yes, we like you, we will follow you. As of this week, we've had 2,880 people that we've reached total through a variety of posts. And 188 people specifically have either liked or shared or commented or done something with a post and engaged in that way. A good example of the most popular types of posts we have. For instance, we did a video, I think it was Tyler or Judy Davis from the engineering department, posted a video of the cured in place pipe rehabilitation project. And videos by far get the most attention on our Facebook page, followed by photos, and then links are the least liked on our Facebook page. But for instance, that post in particular, 2,566 people were reached with one post. It had 611 views, so 611 people actually clicked on that and looked at it and read the description. So that's a post that we love to see. Anytime the street department does a video, we get at least 2,000 worth of reach out of that. Our biggest post ever was when we had our burglary call, our robbery call at Wells Fargo. We posted that on Facebook with the photos of the person, the suspect. We had 28,163 people reached. 29 people liked it, 23 people commented on it, and 248 people shared that to other accounts. So it's one person shares it to their 200 friends, another person shares it to their 200 friends. That's how we get to that 28,000 number. So that was a pretty impressive thing. The follow-up posts, I believe the update when we posted, that the suspect had been apprehended, was 23,000 people had seen that. So that was an interesting use of social media, and it actually, people really liked that we did it, frankly.
See you guys share. Jen's excited.
I know, everybody's really excited. Nobody gets as happy about this as me. I know you've heard from DJ.
Ron, he's
Yeah,
all over the
Jumping
place.
inside.
I
just
live
means-
for it.
Everything we're doing is working to some extent, I guess, is the message I'm trying to get around to here. But I know you've heard from DJ before on the Farmers Market Facebook page, so I'll just hit this briefly. They've got 3,400 page likes, 93,000 post reach, and 1,300 people engaged this week. So they...
9,300.
Excuse me?
9,300.
9,300, I'm sorry. The Market Facebook page, you'll also, I'm sure DJ's mentioned this, in the summertime ramps up a lot. They maintain their posts very well through the winter, but attention probably drops off a little bit there. But they're kind of they're reaching the height of their season or coming down off of it as we go through the produce into the end of market. So one of the newer pages that we've done is the City of Moscow Police Department Campus Division Facebook page, and that's that one I spoke to that just speaks specifically to campus. We have 435 page likes there, 37 post reach, and 6 people engaged. We don't have as many posts on this page because it's a more specific message, so that's reflected in the numbers a bit, but still an important tool to be able to talk to folks on campus. So just for reference, one of the things we do with Facebook and the team approach was to be able to, like I said, populate that more often than just one person going out and searching updates. That's helped us in growing our followers. The chart on the right there, we start off in 2010, of course, so 2011 completely blew our likes out of the water. Averaging anywhere from 24 to 60, somewhere in there, increase in our page likes on Facebook. 2012 to 13, you see the 131 jump. That's when we really started with the team approach and adding more people to post on the page. As the number of posts go up, the number of attention goes up, number of likes goes up. On the left-hand side there, you can see the number of likes for a variety of folks. Again, 2,400 for the City of Moscow. The Chamber of Commerce is at 1,300, and they've been gaining a lot of ground lately. They've been doing a lot more posting. It's exciting to see. University of Idaho at 25,000, Grumman Medical Center 1,500, Moscow Pullman Daily News 5,600, and the City of Boise Mayor's Office at 2,041. So, not many cities throughout Idaho have Facebook accounts. Lewiston's Park and Rec, for instance, has an account, but the city itself doesn't manage one. So, everybody's got a little bit different approach to how they're dealing with social media. And then quickly on our City of Moscow ID Twitter account, we have 1,358 followers, 935 people that we are following, and we've done 944 tweets. Just this year, we had a feature of Facebook several years ago was to link your Twitter and Facebook accounts. So anytime you posted on Twitter or Facebook, they would automatically update the other. That feature went away, I think 2 years ago, from what I can tell. Facebook then added an app back in to where anything you post on Facebook would automatically push to Twitter, which is what we're doing now. So any Facebook message goes to Twitter and helps to populate that account, because that is not a situation where you can have several people posting to the same account. I'm actually the only one that has access to that account. So by linking those two, we're populating it without creating extra work. And our followers have gone up about 400 followers in the last year or so since we've done that. So it's helped tremendously in that. What's interesting to note is the conversations on Twitter are completely different than on the Facebook page. The robbery, for instance, got a lot of attention on Facebook. Nobody talked about it on Twitter. So it's the tools are a little bit different in how you're reaching out to people and telling them a variety of things.
So can you friend the City of Moscow somehow?
Yeah, if you type in, you don't actually friend them, you like them. Yes.
You can just like it, and then you'll see the posts on your
and
page?
then you'll see everything that we're putting out
Because
there.
I'm looking at the page right here, and it doesn't say, apply to be a friend or whatever.
No, you
know,
don't.
like-
No, it's not a friend situation. It's just a like. Just a
They don't
like.
want to be your friend, Jim.
Well,
Because then I
yeah,
don't. The
You
city.
got to like them first.
If you like us,
they
we
like
like
you
you
back.
regardless. Yeah.
They might like me back.
Yeah. So one of the benefits also of the team approach that I should have mentioned is Facebook is really a way for people to communicate with us, as you joked before about learning more about fair and affordable housing. It's a great medium for people to send a message or send a comment with the team. I'll go in sometimes in the morning, I'll say, oh, we've got a notification, and somebody's sent us a message, and I say, okay, well, I'll respond to that. And well, I'm probably too late because somebody else on the team who it actually pertains more specifically to has responded and gotten them an answer. So the interaction is working really well. I think it's meeting the expectations of users, and it's just a great tool that we've been able to use.
One of the things we're trying to do as well is to manage the city's image a little bit. In other words, make sure that the message is consistent across the board. If you have several Facebook accounts for different departments, those sorts of things, you'd have to like or be a friend, whatever it is, to each of those to keep up on everything. So by managing it through one account with this team approach, you get the entire information through one contact, which works very well for us.
And on the flip side of that, each department can then leverage the 2,000 some odd people that are already reading it. Maybe somebody liked it because of a police department post, but then they happen to see an arts post and think, oh, well, I didn't know that happened. It's just that organizational, keep everybody on the same page approach.
You know, when you look at your Facebook account, occasionally there'll be a string of people come up. These people are people you might know, and I've never seen the city of Moscow or organizational kind of things come up there to be friends. So
Yeah.
maybe there's got to be some way you can get that people to know that there is a page, because I don't think it's people think about it as an
Yeah.
individual social media thing, and maybe not so much as an organizational or municipality kind of thing. And if
You bet.
there's some way we can get it in front of people so they know there is a page, I think it'll.
Well, we have it on our website that says that we Twitter and Facebook. We haven't got it on our letterhead yet, although Jen keeps trying.
We're going to run out of room for letters eventually.
Logo on there?
Yeah, we've got on the main page of the website, we've got links to both of Facebook. We include those links. I've got them, some people have them on their business cards, some people have them within emails. They won't show up in people you may know, because that would be a friend situation where you say, I want to be your friend, and then they have to confirm. We don't confirm any friends, we take all friends, is the nature of the fan page that we have.
You can make it automatic, so if you want to be your friend.
One of the
But
things...
if you like it, you just automatically
Then it'll
become-
show up in your news feed. So you'll say, City of Moscow says this. The other thing we've done with social media, we haven't paid for any of it. We could, with our Facebook page, boost it. We could do an ad for it, and then that would push it into people's news feeds. And then they'd have the opportunity
Push
to like
it into
from
those
there.
that don't already like it.
That don't already, even if you like it, you might see it anyway. Depends on how Facebook targets
Well,
it.
yeah.
But yeah,
I don't
it'd
know
basically
how
be an
intrusive it
advertisement.
gets.
Who wouldn't like
It'll
it?
show up as an ad on the side.
It could, yeah. You can boost posts and you can create ads. So it can either show up in the news feed or as an ad on the right-hand column there. So.
Well, and if I can just take the opportunity to thank Jen and the team for doing that. Obviously, it's not something that I grew up with, but it's the way of the future. So we're getting there, a little slowly, but
It's the way of now.
We're getting it done.
It's here.
The concern is what next? What's
Yeah.
the next social media? And so the Snapchats and Instagrams and things like that. And so how do we manage that efficiently and resourcefully, but still use it to where the citizens can benefit?
Tinder.
Yeah, not Tinder. So, anyway, any questions?
Thanks for the presentation,
Thank you.
because I had
You
no
bet.
idea that it was.
Oh, yeah.
So now I've liked it.
You
so
can
I'll be-
share the page as well if you feel
Yeah.
so
you got other
inclined.
followers.
I
And
did.
And because
I
of the
did. My
technology we have available to us, it's instantaneous.
presentation's out of date now.
Except
You're
for
right,
people
it
who
is
get
the
things
present.
in paper form.
So,
Thank you.
send me a memo
thank you
on
very
that.
much.
Is there anything else for the good of the order?
Just 140 characters or something.
That's one of the other.
That's yesterday now.
Oh, okay. Hell, yesterday's not usually, I'm a month behind, not just today.
Well, I think these three characters are consider ourselves adjourned.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.